You already know what to do. That's the uncomfortable part, isn't it? You've read the books, watched the videos, made the plans. You know sleep matters. You know movement matters. You know that what you eat and how you think and who you spend time with, all of it matters. You know. And yet, something keeps not clicking. The gap between knowing and actually living differently stays stubbornly, maddeningly wide. So you go looking for the thing you must be missing. Some secret framework, some elite morning routine, some productivity system used by billionaires that will finally make it all fall into place. Here's what nobody wants to hear. There is no secret. What actually changes lives is almost insultingly simple. It's quiet. It's repetitive. It looks nothing like the transformation montages you see online. The habits that compound into completely different lives are, by almost every measure, boring. That word, boring, is doing a lot of damage. Because boring gets dismissed, boring gets skipped in favor of something shinier, and while you're out chasing the dramatic, the people quietly doing the unglamorous work are building lives that look from the outside like overnight success. These are 14 of those habits. Let's get into them. But before we do, if you're the kind of person who's done waiting for the right moment to change, drop "I'm ready" in the comments. Let's see who's actually here for this. Before we get to the habits themselves, we need to talk about why you haven't already done this, because it's not laziness, and it's not a character flaw. It's something much more predictable than that. Your brain is wired to seek novelty, genuinely, neurologically wired for it. When you discover a new idea, a new diet, a new journaling system, a new fitness challenge, your brain releases dopamine. Not when you do the thing. When you discover it, the planning feels productive, the research feels like progress, and then the actual repetitive, boring execution arrives, and your brain goes quiet. The reward signal fades, and you move on to the next exciting idea, wondering why nothing ever sticks. This is the planning trap, and almost everyone falls into it. You've probably felt it yourself. That electric feeling of starting something new, the first 2 or 3 days where everything feels possible, and then the slow deflation as the novelty wears off and the real work shows up. Most people interpret that deflation as a sign that the habit wasn't right for them. It wasn't. It's just your brain returning to baseline. That's normal. That's what discipline actually feels like from the inside. There's also the scale problem. We dramatically overestimate what big actions do and dramatically underestimate what small ones compound into. James Clear put numbers to this idea in a way that's hard to shake. Improve by just 1% every day for a year, and you end up 37 times better than where you started. Let that land. 37 times. From 1%. Meanwhile, the person trying to overhaul everything at once, new diet, new workout, new sleep schedule, new mindset, all starting Monday, burns out by Wednesday and ends up further behind than when they started. Because now there's guilt layered on top of inaction. And then there's identity. This one is subtle, but it runs deep. Most people try to change their behavior without ever changing how they see themselves. They say, "I'm trying to be a reader," instead of "I am a reader." They say, "I'm attempting to exercise more," instead of "I'm someone who moves their body every day." That gap between trying to be and being is where most habits quietly die. The action without the identity behind it always feels like performance. And performance is exhausting to maintain. So you've got a brain that rewards novelty over consistency, a culture that glorifies dramatic transformation over slow accumulation, and an identity that hasn't caught up to the behavior you're trying to build. No wonder it hasn't clicked yet. But here's where it turns, because once you understand the actual mechanism of change, once you stop waiting for motivation and start building systems, once you stop swinging for the fences and start showing up for the singles, everything becomes simpler. Not easy, simpler. And simple, done consistently, is the most powerful force in any human life. These 14 habits are simple. Some of them will make you roll your eyes. That's exactly the point. Let's start building. Every lasting structure needs a foundation, and your daily life is no different. The first 5 habits aren't the most glamorous, but they are the ones everything else is built on. Skip them, and the rest wobbles. Nail them, and you'll notice your whole day shifts in ways that feel almost unfair. Habit 1. Wake up at the same time every day, not just on weekdays, every day. This single habit stabilizes your circadian rhythm, improves your sleep quality, sharpens your focus, and regulates your mood, all before you've done anything else. It requires no equipment, no special knowledge, and no money. It just requires that you stop negotiating with your alarm. The people who say they're not morning people are often people who have never given their body a consistent enough schedule to find its rhythm. Give it 3 weeks of the same wake time, and you'll barely recognize how you feel. Habit 2. Make your bed. Yes, really. This one takes 90 seconds, and it's not about tidiness. It's about momentum. Admiral William McRaven put it best in his famous commencement address. Completing that first small task of the day gives you a sense of accomplishment that carries forward. It tells your brain, at the very start of the day, we finish what we start. That signal compounds. Habit 3. Drink water before coffee. Your body wakes up dehydrated every single morning. That low-grade dehydration affects your cognitive function, your energy levels, and your mood, and most people immediately pour coffee on top of it, which dehydrates them further. 1 large glass of water before anything else is a 2-minute habit that meaningfully changes how your brain functions for the first 2 hours of the day. 2 minutes every morning. It adds up to a sharper, clearer version of you just from water. Habit 4. Move your body within the first hour of waking. This doesn't mean a full workout, though if that's accessible to you, even better. It means 10 minutes of walking, stretching, or any deliberate movement that signals to your body that today is a day of action, not stillness. Morning movement increases cortisol at the right time, early in the day when it's actually useful, boosts your mood through endorphin release, and creates a physical anchor that your body begins to associate with go mode. The people who say they can't find time to exercise are often the same people who exercise at the end of the day, when willpower and energy are at their lowest. Move it to the beginning and watch how rarely you skip it. Habit 5. Write 3 things you want to accomplish today, just 3. Not a 30-item to-do list, not a color-coded productivity matrix. 3 things. The limitation is the point. When you force yourself to identify the 3 things that would make today a success, you engage with your priorities in a way that a sprawling list never allows. You're not managing tasks anymore. You're making decisions about what actually matters. This habit, practiced daily, gradually reshapes how you think about your time. You stop filling your day with the urgent and start protecting space for the important. These 5 habits share something crucial. They are all about how you begin. The way you start a day creates a psychological template that your brain follows, often without you even noticing. A chaotic morning creates a scattered day. A grounded morning creates a grounded day. This isn't mystical. It's just how attention and momentum work. You might be thinking, I've heard all of this before, and you probably have. The question isn't whether you've heard it. It's whether you're doing it every day, without exception, without waiting to feel motivated. Motivation is what gets you started once. Habit is what keeps you going when motivation has long since gone home. These 5 aren't complicated. They're not going to go viral. They're not going to impress anyone at a dinner party, but they will, quietly and reliably, start building a version of you that has more energy, more focus, and more control over the shape of each day. And that foundation makes everything that comes next not just possible, but almost inevitable. Once the foundation is in place, something interesting happens. You start to have margin, a little more mental space, a little more energy at the end of the day, a little more capacity to go beyond just surviving the hours and actually growing within them. These next 5 habits live in that margin. They're about building skills, deepening relationships, and expanding who you are, one quiet day at a time. Habit 6. Read for 20 minutes a day. Not scroll, not skim. Read. A book, a long-form article, something that requires your sustained attention and takes you beyond the information loop you're already living inside. 20 minutes a day is roughly 15 to 20 books a year. Think about the last 5 years of your life. Imagine if you'd read 75 to 100 books in that time on topics that actually matter to you. Your thinking would look completely different. Your vocabulary, your emotional range, your ability to solve problems, your understanding of human nature, all of it deepened slowly by 20 quiet minutes a day. Habit 7. Put your phone in another room during meals. This one is less about the phone and more about what the phone is replacing. When you eat with your phone, you are absent from the meal, absent from the people across from you, absent from your own hunger cues, absent from the natural pause in the day that meals were always meant to provide. Putting the phone down, even for one meal a day, rebuilds your relationship with presence. And presence, it turns out, is the one thing that makes nearly every other part of life feel richer and more real. Habit 8. Learn something small every day. This doesn't require a course or a certificate. It can be a 10-minute YouTube deep dive on a topic you know nothing about, a podcast episode in a field outside your own, a single new word and its etymology. The habit isn't about the specific content. It's about keeping your brain in growth mode rather than consumption mode. People who make a small daily practice of learning new things develop what psychologists call a growth mindset, not as a concept they've read about, but as a lived, functional orientation toward the world. Habit 9. Send one meaningful message a day. Not a meme, not a quick "hey," a real intentional message to someone in your life. A sentence or two that says, "I thought of you," or "I'm grateful for you," or "I noticed this thing and it reminded me of what you said last month." Relationships don't degrade from one big fight. They degrade from long, quiet periods of absence. This habit, practiced daily, is a form of relational compound interest. Over months and years, the people in your life will feel genuinely known by you, and you'll feel genuinely connected in a way that most people can't quite articulate, but deeply miss. Habit 10. Spend 10 minutes outside every day, every single day, regardless of weather. The research on this is consistent and, at this point, overwhelming. Natural light exposure regulates mood, improves sleep, reduces anxiety, and lowers cortisol. 10 minutes isn't a nature retreat. It's a bare minimum that most people living indoor, screen-heavy lives are somehow still not hitting. It's a walk around the block. It's standing in your backyard. It's eating lunch on a bench. The bar is genuinely low, and the return is genuinely high. Notice what all 5 of these habits have in common. They're not about grinding harder. They're about being more present and intentional within the time you already have. You're not adding hours to your day. You're changing the quality of the hours that are already there. Growth doesn't always look like doing more. Sometimes it looks like doing what you're already doing with more awareness, more connection, and more genuine engagement. The foundation layer got you stable. The growth layer starts making you someone with a richer inner life, stronger relationships, and a mind that's genuinely expanding rather than just consuming. And when both of those layers are in place, the final 4 habits become not just accessible, they become natural. Mastery is a word that gets thrown around carelessly, as though it's reserved for prodigies and professionals. But mastery, in its truest sense, is simply what happens when someone practices something with consistency and reflection over a long enough period of time. These final 4 habits are about building that kind of relationship with your own life, not just surviving it, not just growing within it, but developing a depth of understanding and intentionality that most people never reach. Not because they couldn't, but because they never committed to the quiet work that gets you there. Habit 11. Do a weekly review, every week, without exception. Set aside 30 minutes, once a week, to look back at the week that just happened. What did you actually accomplish? What derailed you? What patterns are you noticing? Where did your time actually go versus where you intended it to go? This isn't journaling for the sake of journaling. It's data collection about your own life. The people who know themselves best aren't the people with the deepest emotional intelligence by nature. They're the people who have been paying close attention to themselves on purpose for a long time. The weekly review is the mechanism that makes that possible. Habit 12. Practice single tasking. In a culture that has spent 2 decades celebrating multitasking, this feels almost rebellious. But the research is unambiguous. Human brains do not multitask. They switch task, rapidly alternating between things, and every switch carries a cognitive cost, a residue of the previous task that lingers and reduces the quality of your attention on the next one. Single tasking means, for a defined block of time, you do one thing, one tab, one document, one conversation, one task. The quality of work that comes out of genuine, undivided attention is categorically different from the work that comes out of a fragmented, always half-distracted mind. Practice this daily, and you will within weeks produce better work in less time than you ever have before. Habit 13. Reflect for 5 minutes before bed. Not on your phone, not with a show playing in the background. Just 5 minutes of quiet reflection before sleep, asking yourself 2 simple questions. What went well today? And what would I do differently? This habit does several things simultaneously. It trains your brain to scan for the positive without ignoring the instructive, which is the foundation of genuine self-awareness. It processes the emotional residue of the day so that it doesn't follow you into sleep. And it sends a clear message to your subconscious mind about what you're learning, what you value, and what kind of person you're committed to becoming. 5 minutes before sleep every night. Habit 14. Do one hard thing every day on purpose. This is the keystone of everything. Not the hardest thing imaginable, not an act of self-punishment. Just one thing that you would normally avoid because it's uncomfortable, inconvenient, or requires more effort than feels immediately rewarding. Make the difficult phone call. Sit with an uncomfortable emotion instead of numbing it. Write the paragraph you've been avoiding. Have the honest conversation. Do the workout when you don't feel like it. The habit of voluntary discomfort. of regularly choosing the harder path in small, manageable doses, does something profound to your relationship with difficulty. Over time, you stop experiencing challenge as a threat and start experiencing it as evidence that you're alive and growing. Epictetus wrote about this in a way that still holds. It's not what happens to you that determines your life. It's what you choose to do with what happens to you. Doing one hard thing every day is how you build the muscle that makes that choice possible. Here's what's worth noting about this final layer. These 4 habits are the ones most people never reach, not because they require enormous effort, but because they require sustained intentionality. Anyone can do a weekly review once. Anyone can single task for an afternoon. Anyone can reflect before bed when they're on a retreat or a holiday. The mastery comes from doing it when life is busy and messy and nothing feels inspiring. That's when it counts. That's when it compounds. And that's the through line of all 14 habits. Not one of them is complicated. Not one of them requires resources most people don't have. What they require is a decision, made quietly, without fanfare, to show up for yourself in small ways every single day, whether or not anyone is watching, whether or not you feel like it, whether or not it feels like it's working yet. It is working. It's always working. You just can't see the compound interest until enough time has passed. But it's accumulating. Every single day that you do these things, it's accumulating. The boring truth about extraordinary lives. Here's something that might reframe everything you've just heard. When you look at people whose lives genuinely inspire you, people with meaningful relationships, remarkable careers, strong bodies, sharp minds, real contentment, and you ask them what their secret is, they almost always say some version of the same thing. I just showed up every day. They say it like it's obvious, like it's almost embarrassing to say out loud. Because from the inside, it doesn't feel like a secret. It feels like a long series of ordinary days. That's not a humble answer. That's the most honest answer there is. Extraordinary lives are not built in extraordinary moments. They're built in the accumulated weight of 10,000 ordinary ones. The mornings you got up at the same time even when you didn't want to. The evenings you reflected for 5 minutes instead of reaching for your phone. The days you did the one hard thing, even when every part of you wanted to coast. Those moments don't feel significant when they happen. They rarely do. But they are. They are the whole thing. Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do, not what we plan to do, not what we aspire to do, not what we do on our best days or on the days when motivation finds us, what we repeatedly do." The word repeatedly is where most people look away, because repetition implies boredom, and boredom implies that this isn't worth your full attention. But boredom, it turns out, is not the enemy of a good life. It is the texture of one, the unglamorous, reliable day-in, day-out texture of a life that is quietly, steadily being built into something worth having. You don't need a new system. You don't need a better planner. You don't need to wait for a Monday or a new year or a moment when everything finally feels right. You need 14 boring habits, practiced with quiet consistency, for longer than feels necessary. Start today. Start small. Start boring. That's where everything begins. You just sat with 14 habits that could genuinely reshape your life. The only question now is whether you act on them. Drop "I start today" in the comments if you're committed. Let this community see you. Subscribe to the Stoic Mode and hit that notification bell, because we go deep on this stuff every week. The transformation you're looking for isn't dramatic, it's daily. Thank you for watching. Go be boring. Go be unstoppable.